Lena had always imagined her engagement would be filled with excitement, joy, and endless wedding planning. She had dreamt of the moment when her fiancé, Mark, would propose, and the two of them would take on the world together. But when that moment finally came, things didn't quite go as she had envisioned. One Sunday afternoon, just a week after Mark popped the question, his family invited them over for a special discussion about their future. Lena had assumed it was just a casual chat to celebrate, but when she walked into the living room, she was greeted with something entirely unexpected: a marriage checklist. She took the paper in her hands, scanning the pages that seemed to stretch on forever. Financial planning, household responsibilities, conflict resolution. It all felt like she was preparing for a corporate partnership, not the romantic journey she had imagined. The checklist seemed to have every detail of their future laid out for them: how to manage their money, how to decorate their home, how soon they should have children. And then there was the last line: Lena must take Mark's last name. Her heart dropped. Lena had always been proud of her last name, a part of her identity she'd carried with her whole life. The thought of giving it up felt like an erasure of who she was. It seemed like such a small thing, but it hit her harder than she expected. She had never even considered it before. Would she be giving up a part of herself? The thought was unsettling. She looked at Mark, but he was sitting silently beside her, his face unreadable. Was he even aware of how detailed this checklist was? The pressure started to weigh heavily on her, and she suddenly wondered if she was ready for this. Ready for the weight of someone else's expectations to dictate the course of her future? Lena felt herself shrinking under the intensity of it all. It felt like everything she had imagined about marriage, the love, the partnership, the adventure, was being overshadowed by this long list of rules. Why did his family feel the need to impose all these demands? Why couldn't they trust her and Mark to make their own decisions? Overwhelmed, Lena excused herself to the kitchen to take a breath. As she stared out the window, she started to realize that she had more questions than answers. What was she actually looking for in marriage? Was it about pleasing others? Or was it about building a life with Mark? The more she thought about it, the more she realized that marriage wasn't just about love. It was about compromise and communication. The checklist, for all its intensity, had made her reflect on the things that truly mattered to her. It wasn't just about whether she took Mark's last name or when they'd have children. It was about building something together. A future. That was based on their shared values, not the expectations of his family. When she returned to the living room, she knew she needed to speak up. "Mark," she began, her voice trembling slightly, "I think we need to talk about this checklist. Some of the things on here really caught me off guard. Like the whole last name thing, it's not something I've ever thought about before. And it's making me question my own identity. I need to know if this is something we want, or if it's just something your family expects." Mark's eyes softened and he took her hand. "Lena, I had no idea they were going to give you that checklist, I'm sorry. I think it's just their way of trying to help. But I don't want you to feel like you have to meet all these expectations. We should make these decisions together, based on what's right for us, not anyone else." Her heart lifted a little as he spoke. For the first time since they received the checklist, Lena felt like she could breathe. They didn't have to follow anyone's rules but their own. "You're right," she said, smiling through the uncertainty. "We're building our future, and it should be about us. What we want, what we need, not what anyone else thinks we should do." That night, as they sat down and began to talk about their vision for their marriage, Lena felt a weight lift off her shoulders. She realized that while the checklist was overwhelming and full of external expectations, it had given her the chance to reflect on her own dreams for the future. She didn't have to lose herself in the process of marriage. It was about finding balance between compromise and individuality, between tradition and their own path. Lena didn't know exactly what the future would look like, but she was finally ready to take it on, with Mark by her side and no checklist dictating their every move.